President Petch.
I'm recording now.
Okay, perfect. Associate Assistant to the President, Abdouali.
Here.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Abdullahi.
Abdullahi, okay. Sorry guys, I'll get them eventually. Associate Vice President Newton.
Here.
Associate Vice President Castanga.
Here, it's Castagna.
Castagna.
Yeah.
Perfect. Associate Vice President Warren. Commissioner Bahabha.
Here, it's Baba, like Baba Black Sheep.
Okay.
Thanks.
Baba. Commissioner Prentice.
It's Prentice, and I'm here.
Oh my God, I'm horrible at this. Commissioner Gillett.
Here.
Commissioner Anka.
Here.
Commissioner Alves.
Here.
Commissioner Viragunan.
Here.
Commissioner Hodai.
Here.
Can you please pronounce that for me?
Hodai.
Hodai. Okay.
Yep.
Commissioner Hunter.
Here.
Commissioner Frank.
Here.
Commissioner Quinton. Commissioner Tran. Commissioner Sequira. Commissioner Buzek. Commissioner Francis.
Here.
Okay, perfect. I guess I'll edit this and, well, President Petch, should I edit this and put in how many are present?
If you'd like to, or you could add it later if you'd like. Doesn't
Okay,
matter.
I'll add it later. It's in the other doc.
Sorry,
Okay.
I'm here too. I was 2 minutes late. I'm Chloe.
Oh, perfect.
Sorry.
That's okay. Awesome. Okay, everyone. Well, welcome to the first meeting. This is super exciting. I'm Adrienne. I'm the Speaker of Council this year, so I'll be doing probably a lot of the talking at our general meetings. I just have a few comments before we get started. So our meeting on September 27th is the more official meeting. This one is an emergency meeting that we need to make some changes before we can actually get started in council this year. So there won't be any training this meeting, and I know a lot of you haven't been on council before. You might be a little lost, but if you have any questions throughout, don't be afraid to ask, and just know that we will go through more thorough training at the next meeting. So we're just kind of throwing you guys into it right now, but don't worry, you will get trained properly eventually. So just bear with us. Also, if you guys wanted to speak at all during the meeting, well, I wanted to do the raise hand thing, but it might be hard for me to see everyone just because I am screen sharing. So if you guys maybe want to send me just like send a message in the group, I think that would probably be the best way to go about it. Can I even access the chat? Sorry, I'm like new to this too. I don't think I can access the chat while I'm.
Maybe just have them call out.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll just do that.
Kind of speak up.
And as per Robert's rules, when you do speak, make sure to say your name and your position. That way, when the secretary goes back to write out the notes, they'll know who's talking. So for example, if I wanted to talk, I would say Councillor Aguichi, speaker. And then I would continue saying like whatever point I wanted to make. So try your best to remember to do that. I'll probably end up reminding everyone like halfway through. It is something you have to get used to. So don't worry if you forget, but try your best to do that if you can. Also, we are going to have some motions today, and I just wanted to remind everyone who the voting members are, because there are some members that aren't voting members, in which case you don't have to message me if you are for, against, or abstain. Only the voting members message me that information. So it is these ordinary members here that I'm highlighting that are the voting members. So everyone just take a quick look here. If your name is on here, then you will be voting on the motions today. But that being said, all the resource members can definitely ask questions about the motions, just to make sure everyone's understanding it completely. Okay. Okay, I think that's all for me for right now. We'll continue to the approval of agenda. So did anyone have any amendments to make to this agenda from what they've kind of seen? I'll just scroll through it quickly. We'll have the approval of draft minutes, updates from all of the committees, community updates, and then our 4 action, which are our motions, discussion section, roll call, and then adjournment. Okay. We'll continue then. Approval of draft minutes. So we don't have draft minutes because this is our first meeting. However, next meeting we will, you'll all have access to the draft minutes from this meeting. And if there's anything in there that you don't think it was an accurate representation of what you said in this meeting, then this is where we would make amendments to that document. But for this meeting, we're just gonna skip through that. And we're gonna go to the updates, starting with the presidential portfolio. So President Petch, you can begin if you'd like.
That should be a clickable exhibit. Do you mind just reloading to see if it pops up there?
Sure. Oh, logged me out completely. All right. Give me a second. That's okay. Oh, there we go. Wonderful. All right. Can everyone see, or do you see like the faces on my screen as well?
It's like pretty big now. You're just on like the 3rd slide.
Oh. Good?
Yeah, you're pretty good now. Okay, perfect. So hi, welcome to council. Super excited for the first meeting. Perfect. All right, so good for next slide. Perfect. So who am I? So my name is Emily Petch, for you, those who don't know me. I'm going into my 3rd year, starting in a couple days, and the honor specialization in nutrition and dietetics program. So this is my 3rd year on council. I was a 1st-year representative in 2018, 2019, and a food and nutritional science representative in 2019, 2020. Other extracurricular and interests I do, I'm the vice president of the Ontario Powerlifting Association. I was actually training for a competition in August when everything shut down in March. So hopefully next year I can start competing again. I'm also in the Western Women in Science Executive, Western Pre-Law Society Executive, and I'm a communications lead on the Middlesex London Food Policy Council. So if you're interested in food and policy, I'm your go-to for that. The next slide.
Great.
Yeah, so I'm also the BUCSC president for this school year. So the BUCSC president has 4 major roles. So at the very top left here, I'm the head of the legislative branch of the BUCSC. So that's the president of council. So I'm the head of everything going on our actual council side. The top right there, I'm the head of the executive branch of the BUCSC. So that's the CEO of the board. So the student council, not sure if you can hear notifications coming through, sorry, but so student council is a government. So it's actually not just a council run underneath of the university. We're a separate nonprofit organization. So we do have a board of directors. So I'm in charge of all the corporate side as well as CEO of the branch. At the bottom there, so I'm the student representative on anything. So if there's any time a student is represented on a committee, on a board at Brusha, it's usually me. So I have responsibility. I'm on the board of trustees of the university. I'm on the Brusha University Council, so a different council than ours, not student council, the Brusha University Council, and all committees and meetings stemming from those bodies. I also sit on Western Council, and I represent Brussia there as the Brussia president. Yeah, so we've been very busy the past 4 months. So my term officially started May 1st, 2020, and it ends May 1st, 2021. So the past 4 months, we've been doing weekly executive meetings. There's a lot been going on behind the scenes to make sure council is up and functioning for September. Major differences, we restructured the council position. So some of the changes you're going to see today. Creation of standing committees. So standing committees were something that weren't functioning on our council before. We're getting them up and going full force. So you're going to hear about your standing committees very soon. Your executive will tell you how all those are going to work. We're writing corporate bylaws and policies. So the majority of my time has gone towards rewriting corporate bylaws and policies and doing a lot of consultations with people on Western, people on our own council, reading the Canada Nonprofit Act, looking into the Government of Canada structure. So I've been putting a lot of energy into fixing our corporation side and trying to get the bylaws up and going on that side, and building up previously weak relationships internally and externally. So I'm really getting going actual good relationships. We have monthly meetings with the Brussia principal now. We have monthly meetings with the academic dean, with the vice principal students, all those kind of great things. Connecting ourselves to residence council, to the Huron-Brussia King senators. I have bi-weekly meetings with the USC president. So a lot of relationships that were a little bit weak before, really, really trying to build up those as well. Yeah, so one of the big things that we sit on, which is really great that a student sits on this, it means we have a little bit of pull there, is the Brussia Board of Trustees. So this is the top board of Brussia University, making all those big, big decisions. So I do sit as an ex officio member of the board. Ex officio means you sit on something because you sit on something else. So the BUCSC president, it's a 1-year term. We always change, right? That person is always automatically on the board of trustees. It is non-voting, so we don't have a vote there, but it's really good that we have input and speaking rights there. From that position, I sit on the Advancement Standing Committee, as well as the Institutional Planning Committee. A really fun thing about the Institutional Planning Committee is that's where the Academic Pavilion was created and where they thought those processes came from. So that's where these big decisions are being made. We've had 3 meetings so far on May 27th, June 24th, and July 22nd. So if you are wanting to learn more about the Brussia Board of Trustees, I find it really cool. You can just go to that link. You can access it through the exhibit on the slideshow after the meeting if you'd like to. Yeah, so the second body of Brussia that's not our student council is the Brussia University Council. So this was a council that was created off of the Board of Trustees. So the Board of Trustees decided they don't have all the time to deal with the nitty-gritties of everything. So they created a council off of the Board of Trustees. So myself and the other 4 executives of our council are voting members on that council as well. But this council is made up of admin, faculty, staff. Pretty much every group has representation on this giant council of all Brussia, Mercado, all those different types of people. So we've had 3 meetings for this as well, the 22nd, 19th, and 10th of May, June, and July. So I'm a voting member of that council. I'm also on the executive committee of that council. So I'm helping kind of keep the council functioning behind the scenes of that council as well. And I'm on the educational policy committee. Yeah, so once again, if you'd like to learn more about this council, feel free to go to that link as well. Okay, so Western Student Council. So Western Student Council is probably the big one that you've heard of or you might not have on Western. So it's made up of all the presidents of each council as well as reps per faculty. So I sit on there as Brussia president, and so it's pretty much a big circle. So you have all the presidents of the faculties, Arts and Humanities Student Council, all those different student councils on Western, as well as the Huron-Brussia Kings are also invited as equal representation on that council due to the affiliate agreement. So I sit there as the president. We only have 1 representative called the USC rep with me because we don't have 2,000 students. We have 1,000 something. I think it fluxes by the year. But something like social science that has like 6,000 students has 1 president and 6 reps there. So you can see how sometimes we do get a little bit outvoted based on population. But if you also want to learn more about USC, there's fantastic opportunities for internships, coordinator positions, lots of volunteer positions through USC. And I think it's a bit of a hidden gem that the affiliates don't know about. So if you want to learn more about Western Council, feel free to contact me. I can tell you a lot about it, or go to that link there. Yeah, so like I said earlier, we're really trying to build up those relationships with the Western community, and I think it's been really great. So I've been having monthly meetings with the USC president, Matt Racer. Those have recently turned into bi-weekly meetings every other Friday. We both think it's really great. There's been some issues with the past where USC will pass a motion not knowing that it affects Huron, Brusha, and Kings to the way that it does, just a little bit of not understanding solely the relationship between there. So we've completely mended that to a high degree by having these bi-weekly and monthly meetings between myself and the USC president. So before they pass those motions and it doesn't become an issue where they pass something that hurts us, they can consult properly. So I've also had monthly meetings with Huron and King Student Council presidents. The 3 affiliates are up to a really great relationship right now. Ziana and Ben, we're doing really great there. And then we do a 4-people roundtable with Huron, Kings, Western, and Brusha presidents as a monthly thing. I've also started up the monthly meetings with the Brusha academic dean, Loretta, the Brusha principal was Susan Mum, now it's John Mitchell, and Marianne Sim, who's the vice principal student. So we're really getting those going as well. And I'm really seeing the value in having student council a little bit more consultation phase. Meetings that I've just recently set up, I just got them on my calendar now. I'll be doing monthly meetings with the Brusha student senators. They're reflected as Huron Brusha King senators. We don't have our own student senators on Western Student Senate, an entire other governing body on Western. So we're really trying to get that relationship going because I don't have any connection to Western Senate at all. And Western Senate's doing a lot of those academic policies and changes. So they're the ones that created the self-reported absence and doing a lot of those academic advocacy. So with the understanding that I don't sit on that and I don't have a vote, I'm going to have a really good connection with them so we can help each other out. And then a lot of impromptu consultations. I do a lot of random phone calls with the other executives, a lot of meetings. We do our weekly exec meetings, which is a core time. But yeah, just a lot of consultation, trying to really build council up and just kind of like tweak some like things that weren't super great and keep the other things that were super great and just try to blend it to really great council. Yeah, so things to discuss. So we're having Boom Day. Boom Day stands for Bonding of Our Members, September 27th, 2020. In a perfect world and COVID didn't exist, we would have had a really fun outing, an in-person thing. Unfortunately, that really can't happen this year. It's a little disappointing. So we will be holding it September 27th, 2020, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It will be held over Zoom. That's where you're going to get the chunk of your training from. So you're going to get training pretty much on everything you need to know as a council member. We will be adding a little bit of fun stuff in there too, but it's just going to be a 4-hour time block. And that'll be the day of our second meeting. So September 27th, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time will be our second official meeting. As Adrian was saying before, that will be our more official meeting. I might have just froze there. I'm not sure. Yeah, love that for me, cute. But, and there was my entire computer. So, yep, okay. Sorry, my entire computer just froze. Yeah, so we will be having our second council meeting, September 27th, 2020. Demerit points will be in effect this meeting. They will not be in effect this meeting for any council member that did not attend today, just because it was a bit of an emergency last-minute meeting. But you will be trained and educated on how demerit points are going to work before that meeting. The proxy system will also be in place for that meeting. We will educate you and train you on how proxies work as well. And then the third council meeting to the AGM. So all council meetings from October to April, all the dates and times are posted in the Facebook group right now, but we'll be promoting those and getting those in your calendars officially very soon. Yeah, so I'm just going to leave you with my contact information here. So at the bottom it says contact portfolio holder for position specific questions. I would love to have a connection with every single council member here, and I'm 100% okay if you message me, call me anytime, just with the understanding that I'm not the expert at every single portfolio. So as much as I would love to help you with some in communications, Paula may be your go-to if you're under that portfolio or you have a question regarding communications or something with charity, Brooke would be your go-to. So I just wanted to make it so you could text or call me anytime you need to. I'm here to be that source for you there regarding anything Brusha, but just kind of contact your portfolio if you do need anything specific. But that's the end of me today, but I really appreciate that council goes this entire year and see the vision come to life.
Awesome. So we're going to continue here on the updates. Academic Affairs Standing Committee has not met yet because that will come, I think, in a couple weeks. But in the future, after your portfolio meetings, this is where you would add an exhibit if there's anything to update from there. And we will be creating templates that you can just kind of fill in. It'll be a one doc type template, and you can just fill that in with the updates from your meeting and add it as an exhibit here. So are there any updates from the Student Experience Standing Committee, which I don't believe has met yet? No? Okay. President Portfolio and Representatives updates.
This would be the time for anyone in my portfolio, so any of the representatives, to really say any updates you want to do, maybe an event you're willing to plan, maybe a connection you're trying to do. If not, you can totally wait to the next meeting as well, but this is kind of your designated time to say anything you'd like to say.
No? Okay. So don't forget, in the future, you can just add an exhibit here or speak freely. You don't always have to have an exhibit to speak. So we'll move on to the student life portfolio updates. So
I'm just gonna ask everyone, we are having some technical issues. So if you're not an exec or the speaker, if you guys could just go off video, and if you guys want to speak, then just go back on, just because I think it'll be a little bit easier with everybody. But yeah, we're gonna try to drop it down to just execs and speaker. I hope that's okay. These might be my old updates. 1 second. Emily, did you? No, okay.
I thought I did, but
I had a cute picture. I had a cute selfie.
do you want to screen share and then pull them up yourself?
I can.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, here's me. I'm wearing the exact same shirt today. I don't know how to present. Difficulties for the first meeting. I feel like it's normal. Somebody know where this like the present button?
I think it might be under slideshow at the top. Yeah.
Like this. And then play from start. Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay. So I'll do I need to make you guys go away or else I'm gonna get distracted by staring at you guys. Okay. Okay. So I do have quite a bit of updates. I'll try to get them through fairly quickly. Okay. So I got elected into my position, I want to say in March, but technically my contract didn't start till May. I started some training. We did interviews, so I did step in. I think I know most of council. Luckily, I did get the opportunity to meet most of you guys because I did schedule the interviews. So what else? Oh yes, Emily already talked about the Brescia Council meetings a little bit. If you want to go into detail, you can always ask any of the execs we all represent are all on that council. Oh yes, we did a anonymous COVID-19 form that went fairly well. I helped Emily with that. It was a lot of feedback we did get from students, and it kind of like, it was a nice thing to do first at the beginning of my term, just trying to get to know like students and being able to like work around the social media. This is when I really started to get into my position. So this is all fun. So June was Pride Month. So as I think I've mentioned to my portfolio, we do not have a Pride Commissioner just yet. I'm waiting for that position to open up in September. There's a couple other things I want to highlight. So I have my portfolio meetings. So in my portfolio, we mostly talk about advocacy. I do have the advocacy standing committee underneath me. We did exec bonding. We had it at my place, super chill. It was only the 5 of us. Obviously, we just got like some coffee or whatever. It was really nice. I attended the Check Your Privilege workshop, which was really fun. And I'm still in the midst of understanding AVP bonding. It's probably going to be over Zoom, waiting for everyone to come back into London as well and being all settled. I do have meetings with Courtney from Student Life Center. So I've had 3 meetings with her so far, so good. I've learned a lot from her just about how councils run in the past. I found out that, sorry, it's my email, that we own the poster boards in Precious bathroom. So I'm gonna have my AVP Rebecca working on that. I'm super excited to see what we can do this year, as well as planning other things with the SLC Wellness Week and Bella Let's Talk Day. Partnering up for a couple of things. I'm also helping Courtney with the website because I want to make sure that she's putting out resources that I can also use. I talked to her before they updated the Brusha website, but I haven't had the time yet to go through it now, but I still gave her a lot of criticisms toward what they had on the website for the Student Life Center. And then she also gave me an update with the Wellness Peers. The Wellness Peers this year, if you didn't already know, they had a small office right outside the SLC. Currently, they're being moved into only residence. So I had some concerns with that. I wanted to make sure there was frosted glass and that there was still like a sense of like comfortability when you're in there. I'm still working with her to figure out how that's going to work for this year because it was a little upsetting figuring out that only people in residence could use it. She told me that hopefully they can use it up in January again and move into the space that's inside St. James, but we'll start working on that. But if anybody wants to know a little bit more about the SLC, you can email me or contact me. I do have my next meeting with her on the 18th. Okay, now I planned the school year schedule, so I'm just gonna do a quick, this should come out quickly. So I have my entire portfolio scheduled, all the meetings and their events. Most of them are probably gonna be online as the school year is a little bit different. So this is kind of my schedule. We've been working on it, me and the AVP. So we do have volunteer week coming up soon. We do have a wellness back event coming. If you want to know anything that's going on in my portfolio, I do have this thing usually constantly being updated. I think that's all I wanted to show, just a little bit of that. Okay, yes. Oh yes, I met with an organization called One Love with Emily beginning of last month. They are not associated with the One Love event at orientation. I had to do some researching from that. It also, what they do, to how they explain it, is that they help with workshops for gender-based violence. So probably the Awareness Commissioner Anissa is going to help me with that. We're going to probably bring a couple things to campus, kind of structured around different kind of relationships and like 10 healthy signs and 10 unhealthy signs of relationships. I help with orientation wellness kits. Kat's not here right now, but I went into Russia and I helped her with orientation kits, but I also had some budget left, so I did some Play-Doh and some hair elastics, tea. It was really nice. I really hope the first years enjoy it. Kat and I cleaned out the entire office, so downstairs it is nice and clean. We hope to keep it that way for this year. If you guys didn't know, we do have an office downstairs inside St. James. I started a subcommittee. It's for wellness and advocacy efforts. So what I technically want to do this year is mostly focus on COVID related stuff. So we are doing an event September 24th, which I'm excited about. And I posted for International Overdose Awareness Day on August 31st. I don't know if you saw it on our socials, but that was me and the AVP Rebecca. I'm trying to work with, I'm actually going to skip forward, HBK on a whole bunch of awareness initiatives this year. So we're working together on that, which is really nice. And yes, I also work at the Wave. It's a fun fact. I work at the restaurant on campus. So you can see me there. I had my training on the 4th. Okay. And HBK meeting. So I also have a really good relationship with the vice presidents of HBK. I love them. They're great. We have really good talks. As of right now, we are trying to figure out the wellness portal at Western. It's still a little bit of difficulty trying to figure that out. As I said, we're working on an awareness calendar, religious calendar, multi-faith calendar. We're all coming together, trying to figure out the dates for this school year, and try to figure out fun things that we can do, resources, and stuff like that. Also, we're trying to plan HBK Pride, which will happen in November. It'll probably be a little bit easier once I get a Pride commissioner, so I'm super excited for elections to open up soon. And some announcements. Okay, so yes, I have Pride and Accessibility opening up September 9th. AVP is working on the posters for the washrooms at Brescia. The Wellness and Awareness event is happening September 24th. And oh yes, I helped in a promo video for Brescia with Clara, the environmental commissioner. A week fun, I'll probably be on campus fairly often this week. I'm hoping to see all the first years and getting to meet them and show that council and be representative. And it's my birthday today, #dedicated. And I just want to do a small update. Socials, I love the DMs. Message me anytime. Facebook's probably the best. Here's my other stuff if you want it. I think that's it.
Perfect. So I think I'm going to start screen sharing again. Yeah. Okay. Advocacy Standing Committee, are there any updates?
No, we haven't met yet.
Okay. And Student Life Portfolio?
If anybody in my portfolio would like to step up a little, if not, I can give a small update. Mostly what I showed you guys earlier was the Google Doc and what we've been working on, making sure none of the events cross over this year. But if anybody else would like to talk.
I'll just introduce myself since I'm AVP.
Good.
So I'm AVP Student Support this year. My name's Rebecca. And basically you covered it all, Brooke. Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, she basically covered it all. Just a brief update of what I've been doing is just meeting with Brooke weekly and talking about brainstorming about how we're gonna kind of do things this year with throwing a curveball. And yeah, super excited about the posters in the bathroom. It sounds really minuscule, but I think it would be really great just to keep them updated and just as a constant reminder that Brescia is a community and we're always there to help out, and updating the resources there. Other things, just meeting with people in the portfolio and getting to know them and reaching out and trying to figure stuff out and what we're going to do this upcoming year. Yeah, I'm really excited to get the ball rolling with some of the stuff we came up with. And that's about it.
Great. Okay, we'll move on to the communications portfolio update. So the CCO, Chief Officer Bravo, if you'd like to take over here.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So I'm the Chief Communications Officer for this school year. This is my beautiful slideshow. I'm very proud of it. If you want to go to the next slide. Okay, so in my mini presentation, I'm going to do a mini intro, kind of give you an overview of my position and what I do, and then as well as an overview of what I've been up to over the summer. So don't mind my dog barking in the background. All right. So a little bit about me. I'm doing a double major in psychology and criminal justice with a certificate in practical French studies with main campus. I'm doing a 5th and I really hope final year. My previous council experience, so I'm CCO this year, and I was previously the psychology and family studies representative last year. And then I was also a student at large 2 years ago now. So some other things that I do besides council and school. Okay, my dog's really going at it. I'm Vice President Marketing for Western Pre-Law Society. which is the club at main campus. I am an executive for this club called the Ontario Virtual Justice Education Program. They just started this year, and they essentially just like educate about everything law related in Ontario. So, and it's all virtual, so it's really cool. I am sitting on the anti-racism working group that Brescia and Kings are doing, and I'm also a member of the Optimist Club of Ilderton, which is this club that's in my hometown, Ilderton, and essentially we just run a bunch of events for the kids and community, the family, although it's a little different this year because COVID, but hopefully we're able to do some virtual things for the community. So info about my position. So I am the head of the communications portfolio and an exec for BUCSC. Michaela is my AVP promotions. Sarah and Astoria are not here, but they're my social media commissioners. And then we currently have the Brescia Buzz editor, the film and photography commissioner, and the website commissioner vacant. So if you know anybody that is looking to join council and really likes all things communications and social media, let them know that these positions will be opening very soon. And I'm also the chair of the Communications Standing Committee. And my AVP is the vice chair. My portfolio sits on it as members, and as well as 2 student at large. We will be meeting shortly. I will be giving out more info about that, but so yeah, not many updates there since they haven't gotten started yet. Next slide. Okay, so my summer overview. So essentially the main things that I have been working on is the website, our socials, and having a connection with Brescia. So in terms of the website, I decided that I was going to create a new website for the BUCSC. We are switching from WordPress to Squarespace. However, this is still in the works. Right now, we're still currently using the website that's been used forever now, but I'm hoping to make the switch by October. A little heads up here, if the switch is successful, then we will also be moving away from our current emailing system. I will be giving more updates, and I'll be posting in the Facebook group. So keep an eye out for that for more detailed information, but that is just something to keep in mind. So if you kind of have anything in your inboxes that you feel you need, just, you know, you have kind of until October to go through it and grab anything you need before we make the switch. And I'll of course notify everyone before I make the actual switch. In terms of our socials, we got our LinkedIn up and going. Created the Facebook group that I hope all of you are a part of. If you're not, please message me. I try to include everyone. I created story highlights on our Instagram, so it's easy, so resources and anything we share with our story is easily accessible to students. I worked with Brooke and her portfolio to make posts and resources for Pride, Black Lives Matter, the Lebanon tragedy, and we'll continue to work to continue making these posts throughout the school year. I worked with Kat on events calendar and Tasteful Tuesdays and Mindful Mondays. So that's content that her and her team have been creating for us, and I've been promoting them on our socials. Just a note, I hope everyone's following our socials, but in case you aren't, we are on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn now, and on Twitter. And we're at the BUCSC on everything except LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure we're just Brescia University College Students Council. So make sure you follow it because that is our main way of updating all of you. In terms of Brescia Connection, so I frequently met with Emily Morphy and Rhea. So they are the, basically they are part of the team for Brescia Communication. So they're separate from the BUCSC, but we have been meeting quite frequently and they've been helping me a lot in this position, which has been great to have their support. And I will be continuing this connection. And I have worked with Angela at the Student Life Center as well for O Week Prep. So that was fun, and I plan on continuing Brescia Connection with absolutely anyone I can. The next slide. Okay, so the future. So like I mentioned, the new website, hopefully by October, and then I'll keep updating you guys on that. I am planning to do a social media giveaway. So planning to do kind of like a gift card giveaway. You enter it by like following all our socials, commenting something back to school related. I'm still working on that. But just keep an eye out for that. And another note on just our socials, if you see us posting anything and you think you have people on your social media that would be interested in it, or other Brushes students, make sure you're just sharing whatever you can. You obviously don't have to, but the more you share, the more traction we get and the more information we get out to students. And then I will also be doing a portfolio spotlight. So I am planning to do this at the end of September after we have done positions and everyone, we kind of have like our council set and everyone's a part of it, doing portfolio spotlight so that I kind of just let the world know who we are, and it'll be by portfolio. So I will be contacting you guys about maybe like a picture and like any like small like sentence paragraph you want to write about it. So yeah, keep that in mind as well. But yeah, other than that, I believe that's everything. Yeah. Okay. The end.
Perfect. Where were we here? Okay. Do we have any updates from the Communications Standing Committee, or have you not met yet?
We haven't met yet. We're planning on it. I don't have any other updates. I have a few things that I want to do this year, but I will talk about that in the next meeting. So yeah.
Who is that speaking? Sorry, just so we have that.
It's Michaela or Counselor Castagna.
Perfect.
Thanks.
No worries. Is there anyone from the communications portfolio that would like to speak and give any updates?
I guess I'll just give a little bit of like a preview on what I want to do. So my two main things that I want to focus on this year are continuing the initiative of the feminine products in the Brusha bathrooms. So I really want to order those and put them in all the bathrooms, make sure that they're always updated, maybe get some help with that. And then my other big thing is I really want to, I don't know if it's adopt or like sponsor an animal somewhere, like and fundraise and then make a board and like update everyone about how the animal's doing. Something fun like that, where like, because animals interest mostly everyone. So I was hoping that that'd be something that you guys would think is interesting. And yeah, those are the two main things I want to do.
That sounds awesome. Okay, let's move on to the finance portfolio updates. So CFO Lagarde, I'll, I guess, open this exhibit for you.
Okay. I just realized how crazy I look. I'm looking at my monitor behind my laptop, but my eyes are everywhere. Sorry. Okay. So I can start my update. I'm Chloe. I will be the CFO for the 2020 to 2021 school year. I can start, if you just want to change the slide, I can start with a little bit about myself. So I'm second year. I'm in a double major with kinesiology and accounting, which I know is a bit of a funny mix. I'm from Cobourg. Last year I was AVP treasurer on the BUCSC. Loved it. Outside of that, at Western, I was on Habitat for Humanity, Rotaract. I'm sophing this year, and I play JV volleyball there, which I all love. And I am an entrepreneur. I ran my own business in high school and owned an escape room. So that's where most of my finance experience comes from, is doing all the accounting and bookkeeping for my own business. Obviously, a sole proprietorship is very different from a federally incorporated not-for-profit, but we're going through all those growing pains. Other than that, I love everything outdoors, spending time with my family, most sports. So that's a little bit about me. You can go to the next one. So I have a smaller portfolio compared to most. So we have the AVP treasurer and the club's finance commissioner. Both of these roles, there may be a bit of an expansion this year to their responsibilities. and really optimizing all of our council members. So the AVP treasurer is who's going to be writing your checks and giving out checks again to student council members to reimburse you after events. The AVP treasurer is also a member of the finance committee, which I think I will get to in a little bit. This year, we are hoping to start an e-commerce site. Usually we have sold like BUCSC merchandise and tickets during, obviously everyone takes turns selling the tickets and those kinds of things on the BUCSC, but the AVP treasurer previously has had office hours selling BUCSC merchandise, which may not be a possibility this year in person, and obviously not a ton of foot traffic anyways. So we're trying to get that e-commerce situation set up, which I think is going to be great anyways, which can expand a little bit more to sell tickets for events and things like that, and really make things accessible for students, especially in an online world. Assisting the CFO, the AVP helps with a bit of everything, and also has a good understanding of the budget as well, and has one office hour weekly. The club's finance commissioner helps with the finance communication with Brush's ratified clubs. Is also a member of the finance committee and is going to be helping out with the e-commerce situation this year as well, and assisting me. So you can go to the next slide. Sorry, I guess I didn't outline my responsibilities very well on that slide, but my main responsibility and my main update so far would be the budget. I just came into the role on August 18th this year. We had a switch, so I'm the CFO for less than a month, so we're still getting the hang of everything and figuring out the budget and reevaluating those budget lines now that we are in a bit of a funky year with COVID. So budget will be passed at the September 27th meeting, where there's a bit of an extension this year because of the circumstances. And overall, an announcement to all council members is due to fewer events in person this year. We're going to have lower event budgets just based off of projected need for financing for those events. We can go to the next one, but you will get more information on the budget at the next meeting. And you'll get more information on this too. I just put this up because this is something that I'm excited about this year, is a projected event budget form for anyone who actually is going to be running an event this year. We are going to start with this and then you'll hand in this form 3 weeks prior to your event with your projected budget. I think I have about 10 budget lines included, and then this after you will submit your receipts. The receipt deadline is going to be 7 days after your event, but you can start handing them in at any point prior to the event as well, as those receipts come in, or one big bundle 7 days after, but there's a deadline. And we'll go out more into this with event training with Kat, as well as my training on September 27th for Boom Day. Head to the next. Perfect. Okay, so this year the finance committee will be forming, so that will consist of myself as the CFO, AVP treasurer, club's finance commissioner, and Emily as the president, meeting once every 3 weeks. So this is where all proposed motions and amendments to the forecasted finances and budget for the BUCSC will go through to be approved. As well as the finance committee in the past has approved or denied requests for funding from clubs for opportunity grants and initiative grants. So that's where that will come through too. We have a bit of that funding this year as well. So that's a great thing for clubs to know about, is that they do have that opportunity. Ratified clubs do have the opportunity to get funding from the BUCSC for events as need be. And other than that, these are open meetings. So if you do have any interest in finance whatsoever or any questions, this is a great spot to come and ask and learn a little bit about finances. It'll be us learning as we go too about the finance committee, but it should be a good year, and it'll definitely be an interesting year because things are evolving as we go. So this may be a year where the budget is evolving with us. We can go to the next one. I talked a bit about this already. So the e-commerce solution is going to be our big initiative for September, trying to get this up and running. So luckily, Paula picked Square as a bit of a coincidence to start the new website, which is going to be a really good e-commerce site that we can add and remove items from really easily with events. Yeah, so this is what I talked about before. So this is where we'll sell BUCSC merchandise primarily, tickets, and then we could involve clubs if that's something in the future, but all projected. And then if we're going to need some BUCSC models for the merchandising website, if anyone is interested. I know it's a bit of a weird year to be in person for those things, but always wonderful to have everyone involved. So we can go to the next one. And just a general update, I already said that I started my position August 18th, so still trying to get a hold of everything and get everything sorted out for this school year to start. Make sure we have a really good handle on everything before all the events get started and everything gets up and running. Definitely making a few changes like those budget forms and changes to the budget because it is a bit of a weird year and trying to evolve with our circumstances. And lots of meetings. So getting to know all the other executives, all my portfolio members, and just overall trying to have a really good hold on things so we can project a realistic budget and good financial expectations for this year and the upcoming years ahead, and really set us up for success financially. I think we are in a good position to do. Go ahead. I think that might be close to the end. Okay, yeah, upcoming. So that's what we talked about before. Budget is to be approved on the September 27th meeting. We'll go through that. And finance committee meeting is going to be coming up. We haven't met yet. We'll get that started in the next week. And then lots of training within the finance portfolio and get everyone started. And sorry, the AVP treasurer role is not filled yet, so we'll be filling that role in the start of September.
Awesome. Are there any finance standing committee updates, or you guys haven't met yet, I guess?
We'll meet next week, yeah.
Okay. Anyone from the finance portfolio, which is only, I think, one other person?
Yeah. If Joelle has any updates, she can say them now, but that's the only other person right now.
Honestly, I think we'll wait for next meeting and then we'll have more information, to be honest. So thank you.
Sounds good. Okay. Sorry, President Petch, do you want to do I guess we'll do the updates for the questions here or after the governance portfolio?
Do you want me to read over Kat's stuff?
Yeah, Brooke, do you read over Kat's
Yeah,
slideshow, and then we'll pause for exec questions so anyone can ask questions regarding the 5.
Please go.
Is she not
Oh,
here?
that went well. Yeah, so she's not here. I guess we'll just carry on to question period. I can look into to see if she sent it in a different format, but
If not, I can just give a small update of what Kat's doing.
Sure, that works.
Yeah. So Kat can't be here right now. She's super busy with O Week. She has been working with Clubs Week so far. So it is coming up very soon. I also don't believe Kat's AVP's here right now either. But Kat is, pretty much the entirety of her summer has been working with Lauren from the Heads Off to work on orientation week. She does have an off-campus event tomorrow at 3 p.m. That's specifically her event that she was advocating for. I'm trying to think. She is working on a fashion show with HBK as well. Probably she'll give more updates on that. And I think that's it.
We'll make sure that this is accessible to you, everyone. That way, if you do want to go in and see her slideshow after, you can definitely click on this link here because we'll keep up the agendas. So I'll go on and do the governance standing committee update. I'll just say we did meet a week ago, and we went through all of the 4 action exhibits that we're going to see later on in this meeting, and gave our input and made amendments to those to make sure that they were ready for this week's meeting. And this is hopefully how council is going to work this year, is motions will go through the individual committees before hitting the general council meetings. So yeah, that's basically the governance standing committee update. Does anyone from the governance portfolio want to speak?
I have an update.
Who is that?
Me.
Oh, perfect.
Vanessa, yeah. It's Exhibit 19.
Oh, that's the one I tried to click on, I think, and it wasn't working.
Oh, is it? No, it should be a. Oh. It should be
Did
a
you
Canva
try
link.
clicking on cats at all? Wait, could you go back and try clicking on cats? Because I'm not sure if you just tried clicking on the wrong one when we were trying to do cats. Like scroll all the way back up underneath president. And then that one, yeah. Could you try 10 first? And then we'll go on to governance after. Okay, perfect.
Did I skip this earlier?
Yeah, you did. You
Yeah.
clicked on Abigail.
Oh.
Then Abigail, in the meantime, can you see if that sharing is proper?
Yeah, I'm really confused because it should be a Canva link. It shouldn't even be a Google Slides link.
Okay, just send it to me over Messenger again. We'll just try it again.
Sorry, I apologize for skipping this, but we'll go through cat stuff now.
Yeah, I can do it.
Got ahead of myself.
Sorry, friends. We're still getting used to it, as I'm sure all the rest of you guys are too. Okay. Yeah. Hello. Okay, so Kat. Kat is in her 4th year of leadership and social change. Ooh, go the first one. Let me go back.
Sorry, it's like really delayed.
Yeah.
So I think it should stay on this slide.
Good. Yeah. She's also doing a double minor in dance and sociology. So she is at dance for main campus and then Brescia for her leadership and social change and sociology. Last year, she was the leadership and social change rep. Yeah, event planning, like literally like all the time, every day. She is also a dancer. She bakes. Oh, her and I are both student ambassadors, fun fact. And she's acrobatic art certified, and she's trying to be an RCMP officer. She's in the middle of doing her what's it called, application for that as well. She's hoping to do that after she graduates this year. She'll probably tell you all this later, but next slide. What has she been up to? Yes, so she's been meeting with the USC, so she does meet with the vice presidents, HBK Roundtable as well. She is working on the fashion show for that. Summer events, yes, so she came with the summer events calendar as well. You can find that on, I do believe it's on Instagram and Facebook. She's been meeting almost daily with the Brescia Orientation Committee, lately just trying to plan it for, well, now. And Brescia Ball Planning, Clubs Week's coming really fast. Her portfolio meetings, and just, yeah, overall just event planning and orientation week is what she's been focusing on lately. Coming soon. Yes, how to plan an event. So she's planning on for you guys to do training. There's some forms that we'll probably have to figure out. Safety precautions, yes, so we want to make sure that everyone's taking the proper measures when they are coming to campus, especially if it is a BUCSC event planned out. Yes, forms, advertising will probably fall on Paula for that, which Paula will be doing also in the training next meeting. Budget involved, yes, that would be Chloe. We're all kind of separate. I think that's what she's trying to get. In food, yes. I think she probably has an update on food. I don't think she told the execs yet, but it probably has to do something with Mercado. And ETC, I don't know what that means.
Okay.
Etc.
Oh, LOL. Okay, let me just go.
Okay, I'm still not here. Let me try to reload the page and maybe the exhibit will work. Nope.
Adrian, Abigail also just figured out, I think she sent me a link that does work, so she can just send it to you. We can open it up.
Sent it to you over Messenger. I have no idea what happened. I'm so confused.
Here we go. Great. Take it away.
Okay, so hey everyone. My name is Abigail, and okay, wait, I'm sorry, what is happening? My thing is really small and I don't know why. That's a me problem, but so hi everyone, I'm the governance officer for this school year. So just a little bit about me. I'm going into my second year for an honors specialization in nutrition and families, and I'm also doing a minor in geography on main campus. And my goal after my undergrad is I hope to attend Teachers College. And last year on council, I was the formal events commissioner. Okay, so basically what the governance officer does is I'm a policy expert. So I'm just supposed to keep them updated and make sure everyone's following the policies and the bylaws. And as a result of that, I'm an employee of the BUCSC, not a counselor. So I am also the head of the governance committee. I am the vice chair. And Adrienne, who's doing a lovely job speaking to you today, she is the chair. And then Christine is just a voting member, but she's the chief returning officer who runs elections. So that's my portfolio, and it's very small. So as I said earlier, just the vice chair of the governance committee, but then other voting members on that are the president, Brooke, vice president student life, Kat, vice president student events. So basically just a recap of the really important things that I've done over the summer. So Emily and I worked on reformatting the current policies on OWL. So you should be able to see those, but we're working on updating them throughout the year. So you'll probably see them come up as a lot of motions. We created a Google spreadsheet that Adrienne and I will be using to keep track of the demerit points and everything. Very excited about that. It's really awesome. If you guys saw it, it's so cool. I created the motion submission template. So this year, Emily and I were discussing how we're going to get motions going and everything. So general members, everyone here, anyone can submit a motion to council. So we've worked on creating a Word document where everyone can submit them, and we'll have examples, and we're trying to work on making everything super easy. So that's very awesome. And then I've attended weekly exec meetings with all the execs, just staying in the loop, trying to keep updated with all that stuff. Sorting out legal and some ethical stuff with Emily just regarding the makeup of council and policies. And then what's to come. So I'm going to try to reach out to all of you as much as possible, just keep you updated on demerit points and things like that throughout the year. We're also going to start working and reworking on how we're going to be doing demerit points, because obviously with this year, there's going to be a lot of changes due to COVID. We're also updating the policies just to make sure that it meets the needs for students and council members for the current year. And we're going to be running the September elections coming up. So just a reminder about the elections. So if you guys want, if we're going to be posting lots of stuff about it, so spread the word to friends, share on your socials if you want. But yeah, so from September 9th to the 16th, this is when we're going to have positions open. People can submit applications. That's going to run from noon on the 9th to noon on the 16th. And then on September 27th to the 23rd, that's when we're going to have the campaigning period, and we're going to be doing interviews. And then from September 24th to the 26th, we're going to have the 48-hour voting period where people can go in and vote for who they want in respective positions. So yeah, that's all my updates. If you guys need to contact me, just text me over Facebook, email me. I'm always on doing something. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this year and can't wait to see what happens.
Okay, so those are all the exec updates. Now, we didn't write it in here, but does anyone have any questions about any of the updates? Any comments, questions? No? Okay, we'll keep going to the community updates. So are there any Brescia University College Residents Council updates? No? Any Brescia Council updates? Any Brescia Board of Trustees updates?
Am I on mute the entire time, or am I good?
Yeah. Do you want to go back to the council?
1 second. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Could you hear me this entire time?
No.
Oh, great. Okay, so completely start over. Okay, so great. So I have been in contact with Dana Singer, the Residence Council president. Super excited to get that connection going up again. We did not sign the Residence Council agreement last year connecting the two councils, but we will be signing it this year. That makes her an official member of our council as a voting member. I will not be a voting member on Residence Council because what Residence Council does not affect us, but she will be a voting member on our council because what we do affects Residence Council because we're the bigger umbrella there. So we will be signing the contract very soon. So she will be an ex officio voting member. So as if you remember before, ex officio means she sits on our council because she sits somewhere else as Residence President. We will also be setting up bi-weekly meetings. I think having a really good connection to the Residence Council will be good for us. I've personally never been in residence before, so even more important for a president who's never been in residence before to have a good connection to someone who understands residence very well. So getting that connection going is going to be very important. So I'll keep you updated on how that connection keeps going.
Perfect. So we'll move to the Brescia Council updates.
Am I good? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give an update on this as well. I talked about Brescia Council a little bit earlier too. Your 5 executives sit on Brescia Council as well as 4 student at-larges. So you have a total of 9 students representing all the student body on this council. There's also admin, the faculty, staff, pretty much as all those different groups on Brescia Council together. I sit on the executive committee of this council as well as the educational policy committee. Other executives also sit on committees. So Chloe, as your chief financial officer, sits on the finance committee at Brescia Council. So we have student representation for the actual big finances of the university. A couple other executives also sit on committees. So in the future, we will be giving updates on how these committees go. So I think it's really important for you as student council to utilize the executives you have on these committees. So we're going to give you updates, so pretty robust updates on how things go there. So look forward to those very soon.
Perfect. Any Brescia Board of Trustees updates?
Me again, Board of Trustees. So, hi, shocker. So I'm the only one who sits on the Board of Trustees as a non-voting member of this, ex officio. These meetings are kind of the most intense stuff going on. We've mostly just been spending a lot of time looking at the university's financials, so just kind of going through each budget line over like a 4-hour period is what you're missing there at the Board of Trustees. Also a lot kind of those big decisions going on. Some stuff is confidential, but in the future I will be sharing everything in this kind of avenue as well during these meetings that I can share with you and kind of utilizing the fact that you do have a student voice on there too.
Great. Are there any Huron University College Students Council updates? I don't know if this
One
counselor's.
more time, sorry. For Huron University College Student Council, King's University College Student Council, and Western University College Student Council, these are our updates here that may never be fulfilled if these presidents do not attend our meetings. Due to the affiliate contract, the Huron, Kings, and Western presidents, I have them as ex officio members of our council, as in they sit here because they sit somewhere else just through that affiliate contract. But I'll be using this avenue to kind of give you updates on the big things happening there if they do affect us. And then Western Student Senate as well.
Okay, so are there no updates then from those councils right now, or? No? Okay. All right, we've made it to the for action area. So just for people who might not have been on a council before, this is where we go through motions, which are basically changes to the policies of our council. So just changing how things run, potentially like what positions we have, just big changes to our council. So I know President Petch has been working like crazy to get these ones together. So just kind of bear with us. We will do a question period after President Petch explains each of the exhibits and motions, and yeah, and then we'll have voting. So we'll start with the first for action, the repeal and replace bylaw number 1. And I'll go ahead and read this motion out loud. So motion number 1, repealment and replacement of corporate bylaw number 1. Whereas the current bylaw number 1 of the corporation does not accurately reflect the actual functioning of the executive and legislative branches of the Brescia University College Students' Council. Whereas the inaccurate reflection leads to liability and transparency concerns within the corporation. Be it resolved that the previously ratified bylaw number 1, as seen in exhibit number 1, shall be repealed and replaced by a newly ratified bylaw number 1, as seen in exhibit number 2. Be it further resolved, the ordinary and resource members' terms of reference and all other bylaws, policies, and terms of reference containing the previous bylaw number 1 protocols be updated to reflect these changes. Oh, I think it was just loading. Oh, sorry, I forgot to say this. Councillor Petch is the motioner and Councillor Huffman is the seconder, and these were determined at the governance meeting last week. Okay, President Petch, would you like to go through this document?
Hi, yeah, so me again, shocker again. So I just wanted to a little bit explain bylaw 1 before we get into it, because I think due to transparency, we all need to understand what we're voting on here. So we, like I said before, just kind of trying to drill it in. We're not underneath a Brescia as like a club or a committee or anything. We're our own separate incorporation. So the only reason we're bound to Brescia is due to an agreement pretty much. So we're a separately nonprofit, federally incorporated corporation viewed through the Government of Canada. We're registered under there. And then we just have an agreement that Brescia funnels the student fees to us, and then we handle a lot of the non-academics. So that's kind of the grasp of our company. We were not always like this. A few years back, we decided to become incorporated and become our own company, just due to having a little bit more independence in that kind of aspect. So we're kind of like, if Brescia decided that they didn't want to recognize us anymore and not funnel us those student fees, we don't disappear completely. We could still function as a separate company and still be like an advocacy phase, but it just obviously wouldn't be that great because we're not funneled, we're not like getting our spots on those committees and stuff. So we're just kind of in a giant agreement here. So due to the fact that we're a company, we have to act as such. Your big bylaws are pretty much what bounds you as a company. So your bylaw 1, 2, and 3 are your biggies, especially bylaw 1. So this is pretty much you as a company, and this overrides anything else. So if something in bylaw 1 says this way, And if something in a tiny little policy says another way, it overrides it. So by changing bylaw 1, which we're doing really, really big here, we will be overriding a lot of things on council. And I know this does sound a little bit scary and a little bit big to be completely overriding our bylaw 1. I understand as well. It's needed. So before, our bylaw 1 was not accurately reflecting how our company worked at all. So I don't think bylaw 1 has been attended to for a very long time. So it was just, we were incorporated, the lawyer wrote it up a couple years ago, and we just kind of forgot about it ever since. So the corporate side of our council is something I've really had to dig my heels in and honestly work as CEO more than president the past couple weeks, unfortunately. So due to the fact that our corporation has had to do a lot of work, this is where it starts. So by voting on this document, you'll be voting on a lot of things. So I think we really need to like make sure you're fully understanding, because new positions are reflected in this, new ways of filling vacancies are reflected in this, but some things that how our council was actually functioning before are now reflected in this. So before, we could have been in liability issues because our bylaw number 1 did not reflect how our council was running. So we got audited, we'd be gone. So this is a pretty grave in terms of how it is. So there are some changes, but there are some things that have been added that literally just are reflecting how we're supposed to run. I just wanted to go through a few things that are kind of red flags in this document, especially. This is just the old one right now. I just need a few seconds to pull it up myself so I know which page to tell Adrian to. So just mind with me for 30 seconds here. But okay, Adrian, could you try going to, it might be different on yours, try going to page 11 and see where that takes you. And keep scrolling down. Okay, yeah, perfect. I think that was it actually. I'll just go a little bit back up. I just saw it. So due to the fact that this is a company, you have a board of directors. So it actually runs like the Canadian government. So the Canadian government has a legislative branch and executive branch. So the legislative branch of the Canadian government is the House of Commons and the Senate. Our legislative branch is council, so all of you. The executive branch is the board of directors. Adrian, you're not at it yet. Could you go to, scroll down on page 11? Yeah, this isn't working. Go to 5.8. There you go. Okay, so this is where a discrepancy occurs. So it says ordinary members of council shall hold 1 voting seat. Each shall be all directors. So that's saying that the entire board of directors are voting members. Our company is small, so we overlap our board of directors and our executive council. So the 5 executives that you know are the board of directors as well. And this is where a lot of discrepancy occurs. So you see how it says voting members are all directors? In actuality, we don't have all of your executives as voting members, only the ones that are elected, just like how you general members, only ones that are elected are voting. So in actuality, Chloe and Paula, being chief communications and chief finance, are not voting members of council. Here it says all directors are at 5.8A. And then when you go down to the bottom, it says the chief communications and chief financial are not. And then at C, it says directors are not either. So as in technically right now, I am not a voting member of this council. That's the grave discrepancy we're looking at here. It's kind of to that degree. I'm not a voting member of this council, and neither are any of the executives. A few other things are discrepancies regarding how people are in place. So say I and Brooke decide to both leave council at the same time. We've made a few changes on how positions are filled. So Adrian, do you mind going to the second one now? Yeah, to like the exhibit 2 on motion 1.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So in creating this new motion, so I had 2 options here. I could do a whole bunch of Band-Aid fixes and change a whole bunch of things on the old one, or I could do something called a repeal and a replace. A repeal and replace is you just completely dissolve the old one and you instate a new one in one swift motion, so the old one doesn't exist. I did a lot of consultation regarding this. I've probably had 10 meetings with high ups on Western Council, with their president, with their vice president governance and finance, with their chief operating officer, who's a full-time like grown person getting paid like $70,000, a lot of consultations here. I'll just slowly go through it with you. So Adrian, if you just kind of like slowly scroll down and I'll flag things. All of this is kind of just clerical, so none of that was changed. I just added a few clerical things here, some just kind of words. Yeah, okay, so first is members. So before it had 2 types of members, I've added a third, ordinary, resource, ex officio. I want it to be an official third class of member. That's what I've mentioned probably 10 times already. You sit on council because you're by virtue of your office somewhere else. So that's where you get your residence council president, the Western Student Council president, the Huron Student Council president. We don't want them to be actual voting members of our council, right? But just kind of having them as ex officio members gives them the right to speak at meetings. Maybe just keep going down very slowly. I'll pinpoint something I've changed. Corporate seals, things like the corporate seal and the books and records are something I don't think our council's been doing before. So I have a very overall goal of by April 30th, 2021, the last day of my term, we're gonna have the corporation up and running beautifully and all the corporation bylaws and policies, everything's gonna be in place. So it's a very long-term goal. We're kind of putting out the biggest fires right now and then kind of fine tuning. So corporate seal and books, I don't think it's something our council's been doing, but we will be looking into it very soon. We're also, a lot of this is structured off of Western's bylaw 1. So I pretty much took Western's bylaw 1, took the relevant stuff to just ours and then plugged it in. So I didn't just kind of create this all from scratch myself, but I did kind of blend 3 different bylaw 1s from King's, Western, and ours to create this. If you could just keep going down, that'd be lovely. Thank you. Confidentiality. So I changed a little bit the jurisdiction of the board. So I had it so as of right now, if I want to make a change, it has to go through council and I could be 3 weeks. And if we're in a bit of an emergency, that's an issue. So I've changed it so the board is able to pass something themselves, the 5 executives, and it could be instated automatically, but then it has to pass at the next council meeting. So as soon as that next council meeting hits, it has to pass and it has to actually go through by a 2/3 vote. So this was reflected directly off of Western's as well, just kind of directly following how they did. So it gives us a little bit of opportunity to make some changes as the executive council to make that decision, but they're not permanent. So I think that's a perfect fix there. Also kind of playing around with the jurisdiction of the board and the council. Bylaw 1 is in no way perfect right now, and none of the documents I'm putting through right now are perfect. And I wish I could tell you that they're perfect and I'm putting them through for the first time. Things are going to be fine-tuned over the entire year. This is just kind of putting out the biggest fires. So just keep scrolling down, please. Yep, none of this has really been changed. There's a 2/3 vote I was just talking about reflected in there. That's amendments if you want, as a council member, want to try to make an amendment in bylaw 1. So if you are wanting to look into that, none of that's changed. This is reflected off of Western's. Everything just has to go through a 2/3 vote for the bylaws. So this vote will have to go through as 2/3 this time. Financial, none of this has changed, but it will have to be changed. I have to look into this a lot more. Corporate finance is a really big deal, but then here you go, directors. So as of before, we did not have a CEO of the board. It is required you have a CEO of the board. So I reflected that. Do you see how those 5 positions or 6 positions here are not the same titles as, say, president, vice president, student life, the exec positions? So you have your CEO, that's the chair of the board, director of student affairs, director of events and programming, director of marketing and communications, director of finance and auditing, secretary to the board. All 5 are voting except secretary, the 6th is non-voting. And then I properly explain how those directors are in place. So our bylaw 1 previously did not explain properly that the directors of the board are just the council members, the executive council members. It discussed a voting of the board of directors. So before, technically, we're not just automatically put in place, but that's how our council's been functioning, and it makes the most sense for us as a small company to have the executives double up and not do an internal election of any council member. So we are switching that up so it's actually reflecting. And then if you keep scrolling down, this just says that the president of the council is automatically appointed and shows that each one of them are automatically appointed. I also put the Secretary of Council on the board because you're supposed to have a Secretary of a board. In researching how nonprofit boards are structured, it says you need one. So I either had to make one of the other directors / secretary or just throw our secretary on there. It does not breach our jurisdiction because you needed a minimum of 5 and a maximum of 6 for our company specifically. Removal of directors, that just shows that if you are, as a council member, you do not want one of us to be a director anymore, you do have that jurisdiction to band together and try to remove one of us. That just gives a little bit more power to council. It's different than removing an executive though. But like if an executive gets removed, it's automatically the board as well, like you lose both, but you can remove a board director and they can stay as an executive. Vacancies, I need to look directly more into the vacancies, but this is how Westerns is structured in terms of resigning and vacancy or death, those type of ways that an executive or a board director could be removed. Yeah, just keep scrolling down, sorry. I promise not every motion is going to be this long. This is just a big important one. Committees, I still need a little bit more work there. Calling of meetings. So in a regular company like Apple, your board of directors is a group of 35 like wealthy people meeting once a month. Since we double up, your executives are meeting once a week already. So technically your board of directors is also meeting once a week. So the only way we could kind of wing it there is on our OWL site. I have board of directors / executives. We're both people. It kind of removed that identity crisis of who are we right now. We're the same 5 people on both. Just keep going down, please. Yep, liability insurance. I'm still looking into our insurance policies and director's liability. Not 100% educated fully on that yet, just because there's so much to look into and get confirmed of. But I'm not sure if we have director's liability insurance or not, but if we don't, it's something we need to look into. And then we can just go back down to 8 executive officers. This explains the logistics behind your company. So on paper, the board of directors are the executive branch of the company, and they hire 7 employees. So they hire 5 people to be the executive officers, interns, that manage the legislative branch of council. That's your 5 execs. That's kind of how it like your brain kind of figures it out there. And so that just, and then further down, it just explains how the president, the vice president, all of us execs got our place, because it's pretty much like the board is the managers of the execs, but the execs precede the board. So it kind of gets weird technicality. Term of officers, this is just explains like how your actual council execs stay in their positions, because if you're an exec, you're on the board unless you get removed. Vacancies. Okay, so this is important here that I did change this. So before it said that the order was president, vice president, student life. Actually, last year it did get changed away from student life, but in the previous time it did have student life, so I did bring it back. So it says president. If I drop out, vice president, student life, vice president, student events. We could have the option of having chief communications and chief finance on there. I don't want it to, because I think that a voting member should take over a voting position, not a hired position. So it has president, vice president, student life, vice president, student events, and then ordinary members as appointed by council through internal election. I will, when amending bylaw 1 in the future, I will make it more specific how that works. But let's just hope me, Brooke, and Kat don't all drop out at the same time. I know it's highly unlikely, but we need to cover all of our bases. And then this is also very important and a major change. So a vacancy in the position, the vice president student life or vice president student event, shall be filled per the executive officer vacancy policy. I will write that all in and pass that policy very soon, with duties of the vacant position temporarily upheld by such executive's associate on an interim basis. So if Brooke decided, she called me right now and said she wants to drop out, the AVP is automatically pushed up. In absence of the executive officer and their associate, the CEO of the board shall choose to appoint a resource member of the portfolio to fill the role by interim basis, or appoint the president to uphold portfolio management until it can be filled according to the executive officer vacancy policy. If that interim decides to be officially appointed, The interim shall request a non-confidence internal election at the next general meeting in which a 2/3 majority vote of voting members must occur. If the president is the interim is unsuccessfully voted in, or the interim does not wish to campaign for the position will be filled according to the executive officer vacancy policy. This pretty much just says if Brooke drops out right now, her AVP gets pushed up, we don't have to officially open up the position again. Her AVP could request if she wants to be in the position, and then we do a little mini internal election at our next council meeting, and then all of council votes if they want the person or not. The exact same thing for chief communication and chief finance right underneath that paragraph, but they do it in an interview kind of way. So they request to have an interview. So that's a major change. And I think it makes more sense for filling in vacancies where we don't just open it up to an election of anyone. Like it makes sense for that AVP directly under them to have that opportunity. Yes, so keep scrolling down. I've kind of exhausted that. Okay, so this more explains on paper how everybody is set up. So under supervision of the chief executive officer of the board, you have your president, vice president, student events, vice president, student life, communications, just keep scrolling down, sorry. CFO, chief financial officer, and your governance officer. So there's 6 employees of the board, and then everybody kind of is each other's supervisor from then on. So just keep scrolling down all the way, sorry. You're doing good. Okay, so under supervision of president, the executive assistant to the president underneath of there is the 1. Under supervision of the vice president student life, your associate vice president student support, and then all the other commissioners underneath of them. And then student events, their AVP and all the commissioners. Everybody's called an intern. That's why they're not paid $14 an hour. And some people are called volunteer and others are called honorarium. That's just how we set ourselves up. And then it just explains how everybody's underneath everybody else. This wasn't reflected in our old bylaw at all. So I think it's good that we're covering our bases on who's official employees. Under supervision of the governance officer, then you have your speaker of council, chief returning officer, policy analyst, bookkeeper, secretary of the board. So the policy analyst and the bookkeeper are positions that we have been looking at. We did have a bookkeeper a couple of months ago. She was a separate employee getting paid $25 an hour to do our books. We did have a few issues with this employee on her side and our side, so we did decide to not move forward with this employee continuing on. We've also decided to not bring in another bookkeeper and just have Chloe do the bookkeeping. I am currently doing all of the bylaws and the policies myself right now, so we're just giving those 2 titles, policy analyst and bookkeeper, to our 2 positions. Maybe considering a small honorarium for those positions, but we're still looking into those kind of things. And then secretary has now moved under governance officer as well, because all these positions are pretty much just governing the behind the scenes of their council. So if you're a charity commissioner, you don't have to worry about any of the corporate papers or anything like that. We got your back. Okay, yep, so just kind of moving down. Performance management is just saying the same thing all over again, just saying that, yes, your supervisor overviews you. The same thing over and over again, but it just has to be there. See how everybody's also called an intern. Counselors, so here we go again. So 3 voting members, ordinary, resource, and ex officio. And keep going down. This just explains the voting classes. So, okay, so voting members. This is something you're also voting on. We're restructuring how the voting members of our council look like. One thing I did notice when taking on this council was there was not equal representation per program on our council. So if we don't have equal representation per brush of student body, our council is invalid, because when we're voting on things, it's just invalid if we don't have proper representation. So I'm trying to move forward with getting that. I'm also trying to make those first years more accessible. So in the future, we did not have those broad first year reps. We had a first year off campus rep, a first year residence rep, and a first year food and nutrition rep. I just think those very broad very strict categories just make it inaccessible for a lot of first years to go for these positions, because there's only 1 first year position for off campus students, and that's 50 students, and 1 for residents, which in the past has been like 400. So we're just making 3 broad. So your voting members, president, vice president, student life, or student, that's 3 first years. Senior year rep, that one's not changing. Community development and sociology are coming from the cleaving, so the breaking up of the sociology and criminal justice rep. The reason why it's not sociology and criminal justice, because I realized this, criminal justice was not a program in itself. It's underneath the sociology and community development. So it would make sense to more have a community development one that has 2 honor specializations at Brescia. Then family studies and psych is getting directly cleaved from the family studies and psychology rep. Food and nutrition, I'm changing it from upper year food and nutrition because we had that first year food and nutrition and an upper year, just making that first year broad, and then just doing 3 food and nutrition reps to reflect how big the program is, especially if we have English, French, and history all under humanities, having a little bit of the same representation for 3 food and nutrition. Leadership and social change has not changed, and off-campus has not changed. Okay, so maybe just scroll down a little bit more. So then these are non-voting ex officio members, and that's why all these people are under community. So University Student Council representative. So we're moving our USC rep. We have 1 rep at Brescia, it campaigns internally at Brescia. They represent you on Western Council, called a USC rep. I moved them from voting to non-voting because it doesn't make sense to have them as voting because they're just representing Brescia on Western Council. So I don't think they should have an equal vote on our council. I love to have them here as ex officio non-voting. Then you have your Huron, your Kings, your Western presidents there. Western Student Senators Chair is also there. HBK Student Senators, Brescia Council Student at Larges, those are those 4 students of Brescia Council. All of these people aren't going to be affecting you at all. They're ex officio non-voting, so they can't hurt our council or do anything. They just have speaking rights now. All of this still needs to be fine-tuned. Termination of membership hasn't been changed. Terms of office, that just reflects how it should look. Vacancies. Yeah, so none of this has changed here. And none of that has changed here. It might in the future, but it is staying the same as it was before. Yeah. We will be getting a minute book to keep track of all meeting minutes. For those of you who don't know what meeting minutes means, it means you see how I'm recording the meeting right now. I'll be sending the video to our secretary and she will be writing spark notes on pretty much everything that's said. So like just kind of a spark note, the content of what I'm saying and not kind of like the filler words. So then you can read the meeting later as a document. And so the entire public can also read our meetings because we're very transparent. We want to make sure anyone can read our meetings and it's accessible. If we do not go in camera, if we do go in camera, only voting members of council are allowed to attend. So if you keep scrolling down just to make sure that was the end. And yeah, so that concludes the new bylaw 1 that I'm wanting to replace with the old repealed one. I will kind of let Brooke take over as the seconder now if she'd like to speak.
Yeah, Councillor Huffman, is there anything you would like to say?
Okay. This took so much time. I know Emily put a lot of time into this throughout the summer. So something I want to highlight especially is the difference of representatives and commissioners on the bylaw 1. I noticed there was a couple little changes we wanted to make. I don't know if Emily pointed on this, but there was positions underneath the wrong portfolio, and like mostly what we kind of tried to structure it as is like what council's already doing. So as I said, I think Emily noticed that, she already said this already, but like if I were to ever step down, we'd have my AVP automatically step up. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Emily, do you have the edited version of it, or is it just the one paper with the red?
This is not an amendment, so it's like separate documents. There's no like red or anything.
Okay.
Like Exhibit 1 is the old one, Exhibit 2 is the new one. We'd be completely dissolving and putting in the new one, not amending.
Okay. I think that's all. Yeah, that's all I want to say.
Okay, so now are there any questions or comments from the council about this motion?
Councillor Hunter, I had one question. Well, 2 questions if it's okay to ask them both here now if no one else, but The first one is the, I might have just misunderstood, but is the USC rep on our council turning into a non-voting member on council for Councillor Petch?
Yeah, so it is. This was something that was one of the biggest decisions I was thinking about. It doesn't make sense for us to have the USC rep as voting. I talked to Mark St. Pierre, the Vice President, Governance and Finance at Western Council, in making this decision. It's something I thought about a lot. I view a voting member of our council as you are representing a group that's getting affected by us. So that's why the residence president's a voting member on ours. I'm not on theirs for that reason I was mentioning earlier. The USC rep is hired by the student body to represent Russia on Western Council, the same way as the HBK senators are hired by Russia, Huron, and Kings to represent Russia on Western Senate. So for the same reason as we had no connection to HBK senators at all in the past, like no connection at all, and our USC rep was voting on our council with a bit of discrepancy. So I now have them reflected where they should be in my eyes.
And my second question was if these changes have already been shown to the lawyer, if the lawyer's gone through bylaw 1 before we pass it.
Yeah, so we have not consulted with our own lawyer, but I've consulted extensively with the Western executives of their student council, with their chief operating officer, Jeff Armour, as well as I'll be meeting with their legal team very soon to make sure all these changes aren't like too grave, but most of the changes here are not completely changing over how our council is functioning. It's reflecting how we should have been functioning. So the way that our bylaw 1 was set up previously, we were subject to possible liability issues for the outgoing board of the past couple of years, as well as our entire council. So now it's functioning how it should. So it's not like major changes are occurring. I've just kind of taken the best of Western's bylaw, Kings, and ours to reflect how we should be functioning.
Okay, are there any other questions about this motion? Don't forget, we are just kind of, if you have something to say, just kind of speak up, because I don't know how to get the chat thing. I'll figure that out at some point. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the debate. Does anyone have any points for debate?
Councillor Hunter. Speaking not in favor for this motion. My only reasoning is bylaw 1 is a corporate document, so I'm really worried if we're going to pass something before it's gone through the lawyers. I understand the work that's gone into this and the importance of making these changes, and the changes that are there I'm not against at all. I'm just worried that this is a corporate document and legally we're supposed to go through the lawyer before it goes through council. It's supposed to go lawyer, the board, with the executives and their members there, and then to us. So that's my only concern with this motion. And the second one, my other concern is the USC rep. I do disagree that they shouldn't be a voting member. I think they are elected by the student body and they represent the interests of both their perspective on USC, and they represent all Brusha students, both at main campus and at Brusha. But that's all I have to say.
Are there any other points for debate? No? Okay, so we go into the voting period now, right? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to stop my screen sharing. That way I can access the chat, and just message me privately in the chat if you're for, against, or abstain. And don't forget, there are some positions that aren't voting positions. So if you're unsure, maybe just speak up now and we can let you know. If not, I'm just gonna cancel my screen share. Yes, you are supposed to vote now. Perfect. So we are supposed to have, how many voting members? Sorry, guys. I think it's 9 or 10. Okay, let me just make sure everyone's voted. Sorry, bear with me here. I don't think I've received a vote from Councillor Loban. Councillor Loban, are you?
I messaged you. Yeah, this is Councillor Loban. I
Oh,
messaged you privately. Are
yeah,
you?
no, sorry, I do have it. Your last name doesn't show up.
Okay.
But yeah, it's all good. I got it.
Sorry.
So I'm just gonna write it in and then screen share after. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 for, 0 against, and 1 abstain. So I'm just gonna, sorry, I know this is taking me a really long time. Okay. So this motion has passed. Okay, I'm just gonna close these tabs now, and we're gonna move on to our second point for action, amend bylaw number 2. So motion number 2, amendments of corporate bylaw number 2. Whereas the Brescia University College Students' Council, BUCSC, is a representative body of the student community at Brescia University College and is committed to the fair and democratic operation of electoral rules and procedures. Whereas the current bylaw number 2 of the corporation does not accurately reflect the actual functioning of the elections and hiring protocols of the BUCSC. Be it resolved that the previously ratified bylaw number 2, as seen in exhibit number 1, shall be amended as shown in red. So President Petch is our motioner and McCormack is our seconder. I'm going to pull up the exhibit number 1. President Petch, would you like to speak on this motion?
Hi, yeah, I'd love to. Okay, so this one is an amendment and not a repeal in place. So you're going to see how it's only one document and the changes are in red because it's not a repeal and replace in this situation. So I did not rewrite this one completely. This is the old document. Any change you're seeing is in red. So we're just going to scroll down until we do see red. Now explain it. Okay, there it is. So in the absence of CRO, the elections committee shall elect a new designated chair via internal election. That's just explaining how that a new designated chair occurs. Just little things like this, we might never think needs to have that much explanation. I just think let's cover all of our bases here. So keep going down, sorry. Okay, so I took away the word governance officer here because it's explaining elections. Governance officer is a hired position and it's reflected lower down. So that's just a clerical issue. Now this is changed, same issue there. Vice president, governance officer is red and crossed out because it's not an elected position. And then spring ordinary members and fall ordinary members, I just made them ordinary instead of general because general means ordinary and resource members as an elected and hired. And we're trying to talk about elections timetable here. Elections and hired are different. One's an interview and one's are elected. So let's just try to kind of make it more clear that these are the elected positions. Just keep going down. None of that has changed here, just same thing. So just kind of clarifying things here. Could just go up a little bit, sorry. To the very top of this kind of segment here. Yep, that's perfect. No, go back down to the red, sorry. Okay, perfect. So in the event that 0 candidates are nominated for a role on the BUCSC, the following protocol shall be met. So I made this decision when consulting with Kings. So in the past, we run one election in September for any positions that haven't been filled in March or May or whenever we did our spring election. So say the leadership and social change rep does not get filled, then it's not filled the entire year. And that's unequal representation once again, and it's not fair to the entire student body. It's not fair to students in leadership and social change. So the way Kings does it is it doesn't get filled in that time period. Afterwards, the president of the council can then go and reach out to professors or like the chair of the school and appoint someone to that position, because I just think it's democratically fair to have equal representation and for us to take an extra step in trying to fill those positions rather than just leave them empty. So just keep going on here. You have to keep scrolling down until you see more of it. Oh, okay, there it is again. This just reflects how our nominations forms are. So once again, our bylaw did not reflect how we were actually functioning as a council. So now it says the nomination forms must include first name, last name, student number, and UW email address because it says as signed by. We do our nomination forms online, as many of you saw, and you probably applied online. Our nomination forms do not have a signature aspect. It's first name, last name, student number, and UW email address. So that's now reflected how we should be functioning. Just more down, please. And then that's just removing chief officer from the elections timetable, and it'll be clarified down lower that they are hired positions. And then ordinary member, I don't like how it said voting, like ordinary members do mean voting. So let's just try to clarify using one term, not get it too confusing. None of this has been changed. I changed it. If it said a speech shall be held by resource or ordinary member positions, this showcased that if you are going for the charity commissioner position and so is somebody else, you must do a speech. That obviously does not reflect how our hiring procedure goes for that kind of position. So it does change there to reflect that. Just changing to how we are functioning right now. These are no actual changes. Okay, so this. So if you are, say, running for president of student council and you accumulate demerit points by the elections committee for breaking protocol of election procedures, you have to be notified by the CRO to a meeting to discuss the alleged violation. It said 6 hours before. I changed it to 24 because I don't think 6 is a fair number to be notified of a meeting in this kind of sphere, especially that shows that it could be 2 in the morning, you're hearing about an 8 a.m. meeting. So I just don't think that's fair. So now it's 24. Let me keep going. None of this has changed. Okay, so in your hiring timetable, these are where those things I erased before, the chief officer and the governance officer, they're back. So, okay, so just keep going down. Okay, sorry, just go back up to the beginning of that right there. Okay, so chief officer, we do not have a general manager at the moment, so it wouldn't make sense for general manager to be showcased on here, so that was removed. And then I put outgoing governance officer on there. Okay, so then resource interviews, spring elections. So the outgoing portfolio holder shall act as a consultant to guide the incoming portfolio holder on decision making, but does not have the decision making power regarding hiring. Our bylaw 2 previously did not fully explain, like, is everybody equal voting on the hiring panel? If you have a hiring panel of 3 people, there's not really protocol on how those decisions are made. I just wanted to be more specific that the outgoing portfolio holder does not hold more power over the incoming person directly working with that person. And then the incoming portfolio holder, I put in the event of the outgoing portfolio holder and incoming portfolio holder being held by the same individual, or in an event of vacancy, the incoming president shall act as the outgoing portfolio holder. So just covering us again there, just explaining who is at your hiring panel, so I know a lot of you memorized. Resource interviews, fall elections. For the president, so this is directly hitting September, so I would be on the hiring panel for all of these. But then once again, it says I act as a consultant to guide the portfolio holder. So I cannot override Brooke's decision on who her Pride and Allyship Commissioner is, because she is the person directly working with that person. So I just don't think that's fair for me to be overriding that. And then the portfolio holder, and then once again, in the event of portfolio holder and president being held by the same individual, the governor's office shall act as in the vacant position. That's just covering us again there. And then successful candidates will be contacted via telephone within 24 hours. It said how unsuccessful candidates were contacted, did not say how successful candidates were contacted. So I just reflected that there. We also had an issue with someone being contacted a little bit late this year. So I'm just trying to make sure that people are contacted right away. So I know when you're applying for a higher position, you want to find out as soon as possible. Just keep going down. Thank you. Okay, this takes us to the second part of bylaw 2. It just talks about specific elections protocols. There's not as many changes here, but we'll just keep scrolling down until we hit red again. Okay, so this was a change I had to add because this change was put through council and successfully passed last year. Unfortunately, not every policy and bylaw updated that were passed through council, or every copy that the outgoing executive teams did have were transferred to me properly. There have been some policies completely lost. There are some where the copy that I have, I cannot promise you is the most up-to-date, but I'm working with the most up-to-date that I have in my possession. So I did add reflection to what I remember us passing last year. So, and this is something that many of you are going to memorize as well, or remember as well. So when you were applying to positions, you had the opportunity to apply for 2 resource positions, or 1 resource and 1 ordinary member position. So this just made it so if you apply for 2 years ago, if I applied for food and nutrition rep in March and I didn't get it, I'm down and out until the fall. So we wanted to save this and want to make it so you have a better opportunity of getting spots on council, because we want to optimize the amount of members on council. And if someone's interested on council, we want the best opportunity there. So it now says that candidate may submit a nomination form for up to 2 resource positions, or 1 resource and 1 ordinary member position, so hired and elected. If the candidate is successfully elected or claimed into the ordinary member position, they must sit on council with the ordinary member, and the resource member interview offer will be canceled, terminated. So that's just pretty much saying that. I just took away the more than 1 nomination form is submitted, because we're now allowing up to 2 positions. And then in the case of executive or associate vacancy, members shall fill the roles through steps outlined in the executive officer vacancy policy and the resource member vacancy policy. Well, we're going to be splitting up the vacancy policies very soon. And then, yeah, none of this has been changed. We're still going to be running elections this year. I know it's going to look a little bit different. That's why I added personal social media accounts there, because it wasn't reflected before. We've had some ambiguity issues regarding social media campaigning before that resulted in many demerit points and Gazette articles about us regarding some of these campaign elections. So I'm really trying to make it so we are very clear with how elections are going to run, so we don't have any of those issues, and we do this pretty professionally in terms of elections. So feel free to keep scrolling down. None of this has been changed. And none of that's been changed, and that exhausts that bylaw. And okay, so that is all I have for this one.
Sorry, is my mic off? Is it on now? Okay. Our seconder isn't here, but would her proxy like to speak?
Yeah, I'll second. Counselor Huffman, Vice President Student Life.
Okay, are there any questions from the council about this motion? Oh, sorry. Councillor Hoffman, would you like to speak on this motion?
Yes. So, when we went through this in the government's meeting, I did notice a couple of things that even I wanted to add on. So for instance, there was some conflict of interest for if, say, I wanted to run for Vice President Student Life next year, then I would be on my own, like, committee, or I forget what it said. The decision making. So for interviews, I would be the only person interviewing. So then it would kind of be a conflict of interest in the fact of like only one person's there. So now, like, if I do run for vice president next year and it's only one person, then we'll have the president come in and also interview with me, similar to how a lot of you guys were hired this year. So if there's an ingoing and an outgoing, we'll try to figure out and have someone else. There is 2 people inside that interview. I think that was the main thing. A lot of the stuff is little just nitpicky things for this, as Emily said, the ordinary and resource members and switching it to like having the same throughout the whole entire document. I think that's it. Emily will probably cover everything else.
Great. Are there any questions or comments about this motion from the council? Okay. Are there any points for debate? Okay. On that note, I'm going to cancel my screen sharing and we're going to go into the voting period. So same thing, just message me privately if you are a voting member with for, against, or abstain. Great. So 9 for, 0 against, and 0 abstain. So this motion passed. Okay. Moving on here to the third motion, repeal executive terms of reference and replace with bylaw number 3. Whereas the Brescia University College Students' Council, BUCSC, Executive Council forms the leadership core of the BUCSC, whereas the current executive terms of reference do not reflect the actuality of the positions in practice, whereas per bylaw number 1, the executive officer's terms of reference are stated to be found under bylaw number 3. Be it resolved that Council approves the following changes to the executive terms of reference as seen in red in Exhibit number 1 and ratify the new version as bylaw number 3. So our motioner is President Petch and Huffman is our seconder. I'm just going to pull this up. And President Petch, would you like to speak on this motion?
Yeah, so this is, sorry if you can hear anything in the background of my house, working from home. There are not too many changes on this one either. It's mostly trying to make it so this terms of reference that we were functioning using, that wasn't reflecting on how we actually been functioning at all. So even though I'm wanting to take us from a level of functioning that wasn't great to a lot better, this wasn't even reflecting how we were functioning before, even at the status quo. So I'll just kind of let you scroll through it again. Obviously the amendments are in red again, so I'll just kind of yell at you as they go. Okay, perfect. So here it says that the executives hold a minimum of 2 office hours per week. I don't think that's enough office hours for your executives. Keep in mind, these office hours are not just going to be me doing nothing for 10 hours or Brooke doing nothing for 10 hours. I'm wanting to move forward with office hours being just the executives and the AVPs this year. So that answers a question of a lot of you guys have been asking me and messaging me as well if you're doing office hours, especially during a COVID year. I'm not sure if we'll ever change it back, but I'm wanting the executives to do 10 and the AVPs to potentially do 4 or 5. That's kind of the range I'm looking at right now. So I could be at my house or my council office or really anywhere with Zoom open, and I'm alone over Zoom for like 3 hours straight just doing homework, and if someone pops in, they pop in. So that's kind of how I'm envisioning the office hours this year, especially during a COVID year. So that's kind of the only change here. I don't think 2 is enough, especially if it's like you can be doing other stuff during it too, like just kind of have it open when you're studying. And 10 is a fair amount for a high-level executive and like holding us accountable. Yeah, nothing's changed there. Okay, so this was the student life portfolio. So it outlined who's in the student life portfolio. Some funny things I wanted to point out was it said that the School of Food and Nutrition rep was under the student life portfolio. So was the School of Humanities rep and the Leadership and Social Change rep and the Behavioral and Social Science rep. Some of those positions that got removed or split 2 years ago, but also they shouldn't be in this portfolio still. So I've reflected it. So that's actually Brooke's portfolio there now. So all of you should be listed there. So I don't think that that's that of a change. We're just trying to make it reflect how it should look. And also weirdly, some reps somehow got under there. Just keep going down. Okay, yep. So we're just reflecting the actual positions now. We do not have a brush a ball commissioner on our council. We have a formal events commissioner. Somehow they were both reflected there. Relay for Life commissioner also got removed from council a few years ago, and we're adding an HBK events commissioner. So it's a brand new position we're adding this year because we realized that we really value the Huron-Brusha Kings relationship. That wasn't a thing before that we're really trying to build up. So having someone just targeting the events could be a really great way moving forward to make these changes. Okay, athletic coordinator was under finance. Yep, so somehow it was under finance. I couldn't tell you why. Athletics has had nothing to do with finance, but it was under there. So I just removed it from there and put it to finance. Or moved it to events, sorry. Communications, nothing changed here. Yeah, and that exhausts all the changes I've made for this one. It's not a repeal and replace, as in our old document's still there. Less risk when voting on this one, but it's all the only changes are in red.
Okay, Vice President Huffman, would you like to speak on this motion?
Yeah, so this is really needed. My portfolio members can probably speak on this too. We do not have any reps underneath me anymore. We did change a couple of the positions into my portfolio, which I'm super excited about. So the mature and transfer student rep and the international student rep, but we're now changing them to commissioner names as well, which have already been discussed. I'm adding in the accessibility commissioner as well. And then we're also changing the name of Pride and Diversity to Pride and Allyship. So it's just like necessary changes that have already happened on council the last 2 years and we're catching up with legally now. As you can tell, like what Emily was saying earlier, it's a lot of that consistency throughout the document within the portfolios. So yeah, I'm excited to finally have this updated. And I don't think there was anything else.
Okay, so now we're going to go into the question period. Do any counselors have questions about this motion? Okay, are there any points for debate? Okay, so we're going to go into the voting period now. So go ahead and send me a message if you are a voting member. Great. All right, so we have 9 for, 0 against, and 0 abstain. All right. Moving on to motion number 4. We're getting there. Amend ordinary and resource member terms of reference. Whereas the Brescia University College Students' Council, BUCSC, recognizes the impact held by our student volunteers and knows our ordinary members and resource members are an integral component in our success. Whereas the BUCSC is committed to representing all Brescia University College students. Whereas Council would benefit from adjustments to the current allocation of ordinary and resource members. Whereas Council has already approved these changes in the repealment and replacement of bylaw number 1. Be it resolved that Council approves the following changes to the ordinary and resource terms of reference: the cleaving and creation of new representative ordinary members and the creation of new resource members as seen in red in Exhibit 1. So our motioner is President Petch, and we just need a seconder because McCormack is not present.
I'll be seconder.
All right, President Petch, would you like to speak on this motion?
Yeah, I would love to. Also, disclaimer, motions are not going to take this long in the future. This is just our first rough meeting. This is also not a repeal and replace. It's an amendment one. So it's just everything is in red. It's not removing the old one. This is the old one with new changes. Ex officio, I added as a third membership class by virtue of their office. So then we can have those ex officio friends, the Western Huron Kings presidents, all of them reflected in our bylaws, like I was mentioning earlier. Just keep on scrolling down. Okay, diversity and pride is now pride and allyship. We had a bit of confusion regarding diversity and pride with some students thinking it was either racial diversity or ethnic diversity or different types of diversity. So we changed it to pride and allyship to be a little bit more kind of standing out of what that position entails. Those are just read by accident, like I didn't change those. That's also read by accident. Okay, yep, same thing. There's pride and allyship being explained properly now. Most of these are different. There's accessibility, the brand new position we created. This could be amended with a little bit more on how Brooke wants it to reflect, but as of right now, that's how I have it. And then International Student Support Commissioner, we're moving this commissioner from a rep to a commissioner, because as a rep, all they could do was just represent international students. As a commissioner, they can actually make change for international students. That's the difference between a rep and a commissioner. You can actually do a lot more change in events as a commissioner. And so I added that to a commissioner. Mature and Transfer Student Commissioner is now from Mature and Transfer Student Rep. So that's where that came from too. And then just keep on keeping on. Vice President Student Events. Okay, Real Life for Life doesn't exist, so I removed it. It hasn't existed for a few years now. HBK Events is a position that we just created on Kat's request. I talked about a little bit earlier. That's kind of how that's reflected there. Athletic Coordinator, it was again under Finance. And so I moved it to the events. I'm wondering if it was on purpose under Finance for some reason, if they did have financial duties once, but they do not now. So we're moving it out of Finance and putting it under events where it should belong. Chief Communications, nothing's changed here. Brescia TV Editor, we're now calling it Film and Photography Commissioner. I think that position adds a little bit more pull and excitement and also understanding of what they're applying for. So hopefully with the change of this name, also making them a commissioner to just have like kind of a baseline, everybody called commissioner is nice. Nothing's changed there. Okay, athletic coordinator. See how it's under finance? Yeah, it got just pushed back up like I showed you earlier. So now it's deleted from that section. Club's finance, I didn't change anything there. Nothing's changed here. Representatives, so I just listed out the representatives there. So the first year reps, I told you I made them less broad. Now they're just 3 first year, less specific. Now they're just 3 broad first year reps. I only removed the stuff that was relevant to like how they were residents and off campus before. And then now off campus rep, that's Nikki, same thing. Sociology rep, sociology. I kind of explained these earlier. Sociology used to come from the Soc and Crim rep. Community development rep also came from Soc and Crim rep. Psychology rep came from Psych and Family Studies rep. That got cleaved. And then Family Studies should be next. Yep. So those 2 positions are now cleaved into 2. English Studies rep, French Studies rep, and History rep got cleaved from Humanities. So that was like a 3-way split. There was no way that the Humanities representative was able to represent all 3 fully, and I think it's good to give more votes to. So it's a pro, right? So having more votes from you guys on council doesn't help me. It does inhibit me sometimes when I'm trying to pass motions. I'm just trying to create more equal representation. School food and nutrition rep, that changed from upper year food and nutrition rep because we had that first year food and nutrition rep and an upper year one. When I was in my first year, we only had a food and nutrition rep, and then in my second year, they made a first year food and nutrition rep and an upper year food and nutrition rep to do 2, 3, and 4. It didn't make sense to me then, so we are just kind of changing it back, especially if we're trying to remove the specialties of those first years. Obviously, first year foods would get removed with off-campus and residence food and nutrition foods. That didn't change. Explicit voting, here's me adding those as members of our council. So sorry, the format's really weird. Can you tell Abigail hasn't looked at it yet? The content won't change. We're just going to reformat it. The UCRC president, that's the president of Residence Council. I'm super excited to have that connection going and have them officially on our thing. I'm looking to sign a multi-year contract with Residence Council, so it's not just every year there's a chance that the president of one of them doesn't want to sign it. I'm thinking of signing like a 4 to 5 year just to make sure that connection is in place. Ex officio non-voting, here's that USC rep that was debated earlier between one of the counselors. So USC Representative Brescia counselor, I wanted as non-voting for the reason that I want representatives who are voting on our council to be representing a group, right? So it wouldn't make sense for someone that we hired ourselves to go represent us on Western to have a vote on ours, just logistically for that reason, for the same reason as I'm a vote on Western Council because what Western does affects us. Matt Reeser, the USC president, is not a voting on ours because what Brescia does doesn't affect him. But we're in the same contract. So technically we could have him as a vote on ours, but it doesn't make sense. That's why I'm a vote on Westerns. So for this exact reason, that's why USC is non-voting for anyone who was a little bit concerned earlier. So just keep going. Okay, yeah, and so USC, HUCSC, and KUCSC presidents, the same reasons, having those presidents as ex officio non-voting. They may never come to a meeting ever or really care to come to our meetings, but it's nice to have them there as speaking rights if they want to. So maybe I want to invite the Huron president to our meeting to talk on something. They now have speaking rights. If I didn't have them as ex officio, they wouldn't have those speaking rights. So that just kind of saves us there. And then I'm really trying to get us connected to Western Senate. So before becoming president, I was not aware of Western Senate. Unfortunately, I was a rep for 2 years and I didn't really feel super educated on the things going on around Western because meetings like this didn't really properly educating me. That's why I'm really trying to educate you guys on everything going on. So really trying to get that Western Senate connection going. I've met with the chair of Western Senate a few times and the HBK senators are really great. Usually, due to the fact that they're HBK student senators, they're usually from Huron or Kings. Brescia usually is unfortunately not getting represented at all there, despite like 2 Huron people being HBK senators. That's something I'm working on the side to see if we can get Brescia senators specifically. But really getting that connection. We do have a Brescia senator this year. Her name's Libby Ricker. She is an HBK senator, so really great for us. Super excited about that. But yeah, and that exhausts this one.
That's the end, I think. President Petch, we can't hear you. I'm not sure if you're speaking.
Oh, no, I'm done.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
So Vice President Huffman, would you like to speak on this motion?
I think Emily pretty much summed it up all this time. Yeah. It's just mostly what we were going back on the bylaw one as well, is a lot of the changes that we made in there in here as well. Yeah, I don't think there's anything.
Okay. So now we're going to go into question period. Does anyone have any questions about this motion? Okay. We'll move on to debate. Is there any points for debate? Okay. We'll go into voting then. You can send me a message whenever you're ready. All right, so we have 9 for, 0 against, and 0 abstain. So this motion passed. All right. For our last motion, motion number 5, repeal standing committee terms of reference and replace with committees of council terms of reference. Whereas the success of the Brescia University College Students' Council is dependent on the success of each individual aspect of the organization. Active and organized standing committees and subcommittees help ensure that the functioning of the BUCSC is transparent and efficient. Whereas previous membership of standing committees lacked alignment with standing committee mandates. Be it resolved that Council approves the repealment of the standing committee's terms of reference. Be it further resolved, Council approves the committees of Council terms of reference as a replacement. Be it further resolved, Council approves the mandate and membership of the standing committees of Council. Okay, Petch is our motioner. I actually can't be a seconder. So can we have a seconder, please, for this motion?
I'll second.
President Petch, would you like to speak on this motion?
Yeah, sure. So this was pretty much the first policy I dove into when I realized that we weren't really doing great bylaw and policy side. Our corporate documents and the behind the scenes just transparently haven't been great. We're just not really in a great place in terms of these. So it's not really fun changes I've been making in all these motions you've been seeing. It's important stuff. So we get audited, we're not functioning completely different than how we are, and we could lose our incorporation status and not be a nonprofit anymore. And that's a risk we're at right now. So this was the number one first one I got into. So I didn't change too much of the core. So standing committees were an actual thing before this, but they were not functioning in actuality. So in my 2 years on council, I didn't attend a standing committee once. I knew they ran probably 3 meetings or something over the 2 years. It wasn't a thing that was happening. Also, standing committees on a more legitimate council, like Western Council, I've been really reflecting us off of that council, trying to get us up to that standard. And they have an entire legal team of 30 people updating their policies. So I've been really reflecting us off of there. So despite not using a lawyer for every step of the way here, I'm consulting with Weston's legal team and using their policies as a guideline, which were done by a legal team. So it's not just me at my dinner table writing this from start to scratch. So standing committees adds more validity behind motions. So I can't just write a motion at my dinner table 2 hours before a council meeting and it hits council floor. It adds that extra step of validity. So everything has to go through a standing committee first, and it functions just like this council meeting, a little mini council meeting. There's a motioner and a seconder and a debate and question. So motions will hit your standing committees first through submission of a motion submission tool. So if you're on advocacy committee, you're with Brock, and all you guys will figure that out. And so this just pretty much outlines the official standing committees. I made a few changes, I added a few, I tweaked a few things, but this wasn't created from scratch. So if you just want to scroll down a little bit. Okay, so standing committees, just number 1 there. So we're going to have a few standing committees, advocacy, events, communications, finance, governance, and elections all were standing committees previously that were supposed to be meeting before each council meeting, and they did not. So that was a big kind of no on our council, that motions were not going through standing committees, which is a big issue. I also wanted to make it so the representatives had their own standing committee. I know if you're a representative, you met with me last month and we all met together. I'm wanting to split the standing committee up. So it's an academic affairs one, so we can really hard hit academic affairs for any of you academic reps, and student experience for any of the non-academic reps. We can really hard hit different topics, and I can really help you. I view these standing committees as a one-hit go in fixing a lot of our council problems. So before, executives and their portfolios didn't have a good connection. I know you guys have a good connection this year, but sometimes it just wasn't happening in the past. Portfolios not talking to each other. Executives not being accountable. I think this is a really big one hit to fix a lot of things. So I'll just kind of keep going on that. Just keep scrolling on down. Yeah, so none of these things were changed at all here. Academic Affairs Committee. Okay, so you're going to see this too. The mandate just kind of explains that it's a communication obviously between me and the academic rep. So I'm directly held accountable to you as an academic rep to be meeting with you at the designated time. So it's not just me not answering you on the phone, it's directly, I'm accountable to you to be working with you in this professional avenue to help you create motions, to help you get connections to the Brush-Up community that I have. Like I'm on the board of trustees, I am friends with the faculty association. I can really help you get those connections and make impact using kind of the privilege that I have in my position. So love the spelling here. So membership kind of going down. So chair is me, vice chair is my associate, so the executive assistant to the president, and everybody's voting here, and then it just goes down to all those reps that we just passed before, all the academic ones. And then student experience. I created this one a couple days ago because I was worried about having a giant representatives one. So now this is everyone who's not an academic rep. So the membership is president, executive assistant again, first year rep, senior year rep, off-campus rep, and all those ex officio members. This could be really great. So the first year reps get a little bit more one-on-one. It's just a smaller committee. Also, I'm really trying to focus on the off-campus rep this year to try to make some good things, because that position was removed last year and I opted to bring it back as like a 1 year. I think if I properly give support to this position, we can do really great things with off-campus housing. I'll be in contact with Nikki very soon. So I think this is a really good kind of smaller committee off of there. And then it goes into the ones that already existed. So advocacy committee already existed. That's going to be chaired by Brooke. Just keep going down. And then here's the entire committee. So it's a very big one. Brooke is in the, just trying to book that meeting right now. So if you are, haven't filled out the doodle poll yet, just a bit of a shout out, do that. Just keep going down. Events, so membership, pretty much just your portfolio. So this doubles as a monthly portfolio meeting with your portfolio holder, and it just adds more validity behind that meeting and more accountability so that portfolio meeting doesn't get dropped. It's in the bylaws. Communications, same thing. This pretty much just changed it with the positions that now exist. Film and photography from Brush, a TV editor, and that's pretty much it. Finance. I am on the finance one versus all the other ones, so I'm not on events or advocacy or any of the other ones. It makes sense for me to be on finance because I am a signing authority on all of our banking, so it would make sense for me to be there. Just kind of going down. Governance committee is really cool, so it's a 2-in-1. So this one encompasses all of the other motions that the other ones passed, and also passes their own motions. So when Adrian was talking about the governance committee earlier, we met exactly 7 days ago. All the motions that we passed today, and hopefully this one, if it does get passed, we passed at the governance committee already. So we did a 2-hour meeting where I talked exactly how I'm talking right now to Kat, Brooke, Adrian, and Abigail, and we passed it to hit this meeting. And so the governance committee is a cool 2-in-1. So the first half of it is it passes its own motions. If it's governance related stuff like bylaw 1 wouldn't go to the events committee. It doesn't really make sense. And it also encompasses all the other ones the other one has passed, and then we create the agenda. So the governance committee is the one that created the agenda you are going by today for your meeting. Elections committee is a committee run by the CRO. The CRO is your chief returning officer. They are pretty much hired by council to run elections. So it is chaired by the CRO. Just keep going down, Adrian. And this committee sometimes doesn't do anything. Sometimes they make a decision like, should we open up a position for 24 hours? Should we give demerit points to this individual? So it does sometimes go to those grave-like things. And if something does happen, it does follow that protocol. Like one thing I did change in the other bylaw saying that it's not 6 hours, it's 24, would be if this committee gave demerit points. Am I going down? Yeah. I explained a little bit how the motion submission tool is going to work. So if you actually don't want to learn more information about it, it would be really great for you to read this policy and do submission of motions and all that. If not, your chair will properly explain everything to you, but this is like the nitty gritty everything if you're wanting to look into it. Official subcommittees, I know Brooke was mentioning she has a wellness and awareness subcommittee. It's now reflected under here. It's just not fully written out yet, but it will be reflected under here very soon. If it, this will get passed at next meeting probably. Pride subcommittee, yeah, that's pretty much, keep going down. Yep. Just changed a few things from standing committee to standing committee and subcommittee. That's like pretty much the only change I made here. Yep, so meetings are actually open to every BU-CSC counselor as well as the entire Brescia community and larger than that. So if you are the finance commissioner and you're on the finance committee and you really, really love advocacy and you want to do something regarding pride or like something like that, you can sit on the advocacy standing committee every single meeting if you'd like. We'll make them 100% accessible to you, or you can sit on events. You'll just be a non-voting member and you won't be held accountable to more than one committee. So if you're the club's finance, you only can get demerit points if you don't send regrets or attend the finance committee, but you can attend every single one you want and really dig as deep into council if you'd like to. We want to keep those open to you guys. And yeah. None of this has really been changed. Well, I'm very excited to see these standing committees come into place because I think it adds a lot more validity behind motions hitting council floor. I can't just do it at my dinner table or write it on the bus on the way to the council meeting because I know that's how they were sometimes functioning in the past. So this adds a lot more validity. So this policy doesn't help me. It can sometimes inhibit me because I'm held to higher standards now on getting motions passed properly. So I'd really hope that this stuff's going through.
Okay, Vice President Huffman, would you like to speak on this motion?
Yes, Councillor Huffman, Vice President Student Life. So I have already mentioned this a lot to my portfolio. So we have been already meeting the last 2 months and it's been going fairly well. So essentially it gives us like the validity of this. So essentially it'll roll out in 3-week time periods. So I know I'll speak about my committee and how it's going to run. So for instance, I've talked to my AVP and I've talked to my outreach commissioner, and there's some things inside of our terms of reference that I personally want to look over because Emily shouldn't have to look over every single document over our council. I think it's nice to kind of be able to take it in and be able to look at it through my own perspective and see kind of what works. Same thing with adding the accessibility commissioner. We don't know how that position is going to run yet because it's never been done before on council. So we're going to go back and obviously update those through that advocacy committee and then pass it through council. Already having a motioner and a seconder with that, I think it will definitely run a lot smoother. I have also been on council the last 2 years and I have never sat in a committee before they were supposed to be a part of council. We're just trying to make sure that these still happen and that we're able to have this communication within the portfolios.
All right. So now we're going to enter the question period. Are there any questions or comments about this motion? Okay. Are there any points for debate? Okay, so we're going to go into voting. And I actually I think, figured out how to get my chat up here, which you guys can't see my chat, right? Okay.
We can't.
No, you can't?
Nope, you're good.
Okay, perfect. Yep, so go ahead and vote whenever you're ready. Okay. So we have 7 for, 0 against, and 2 abstain. But that still passes. All right, so now we're in the for discussion area, but there's nothing written here for today. Did anyone have any final questions or anything they wanted to say before the end of the meeting? I'll just quickly say that I did post in the Facebook group, but from here on out, I will be posting announcements on the OWL page once the agendas have been added to OWL. So you will be getting an email that says an announcement has been added to OWL. And so you do have to click on that to see the announcement itself, just as you would when profs add announcements on their OWL sites. So just keep an eye out for those and make sure you check those out in case there are any other updates in those announcements. Okay, so we're just going to finish off with a roll call again. President Petch.
Here.
Vice President Huffman.
Here.
Vice President McCormack. Councillor Weber.
Here.
Councillor Miller.
Here.
Councillor Royas. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Councillor Elzuki.
Here. Oh, so could you tell me what is the person? Because I totally forget.
Sorry, would you mind repeating that one more time? Hello?
Here. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry for that.
That's okay. Councillor Zhang. Councillor Loban. I'm sorry, I'm butchering all of these names. So sorry. If I messed up your name, please message me for the pronunciation and I will fix it. Councillor Liu. Councillor Liu, are you here? Okay. Chief Officer Bravo.
Here.
Chief Officer Lagarde.
Here.
Officer Benest.
Here.
Officer Amin. Secretary Gilmore. Oh, why did I put absent for myself? I was here the whole time. Associate Assistant to the President, Abdali.
Here.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Associate Vice President Newton.
Here.
Associate Vice President Castagna. Associate Vice President Warren. Commissioner Baba.
Here.
Commissioner Prentice.
Here.
Commissioner Gillett.
Here, but I missed most of the meeting because my connection was flickering in and out, so I'll just message you about that later.
Okay. Commissioner Anka.
Here.
Commissioner Alves.
Here.
Commissioner Varagunan.
Here.
Commissioner Hadai.
Yeah.
Commissioner Hunter. Commissioner Frank. Commissioner Quinton. Commissioner Tran. Commissioner Sequira. Commissioner Buzek. Commissioner Francis. Okay. Sorry, our Commissioner is Counselor Liu here?
Yeah, here.
Okay, so you are here. And is Counselor Castagna here?
Yeah, sorry, I was just in the bathroom.
That's okay, all good. Just
Thanks.
making sure I'm getting that right. Okay, on that note, the next meeting is September 27th, and this meeting is adjourned. Yay! All right, well, I think.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Happy birthday again, Brooke.
Thanks.